All right. Let's do it. What's up? How we doing? How we feeling? Happy Monday. Yo, March feels real different than February. Whew. I mean, fucking January was its own thing. But even February, I don't know. February, um, it felt like it had a lot of the same weight and energy, and we were trying to come out of the chaotic shit mess of January, and it was just still a little sluggish, but I don't know, man. I'm feeling really good about March so far. It's been doing the things. I kind of like it. So if you watched yesterday's video, not yesterday's, last video, was on Friday, I think. I talked about, I was like, I'm done with negativity. Really like harnessing the power of positive psychology. And it's been a change. And it's been, so one of the things that Kevin Hart, so this was all, I listened to Kevin Hart's new audiobook, The Decision. As I said before, it's fucking great. It's amazing. Listen to it. It's funny. He's just like, he is a master of the spoken word. Like, he just understands how to fucking put words together in a spoken context. And it's great. It's great. And he's also had a lot of material success and a lot of very public failure. So like, you really get to see like the stuff that he is preaching isn't coming from nowhere. That's why I like it so much. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out. But one of the big things he talks about is the importance of a positive mindset. And it's sort of like, it feels like a much more nuanced version of what Jocko talks about. So Jocko, he's all about like, take a no and make it a yes. And that never landed with me because I look at that and I'm like, that's so, it's too simplistic. Listen, Lead and I love a good, simple rule that you can follow all the time. That one went a little too far. And it's very easy to get lost in the soup of like, okay, well, what, I mean, maybe a no is like a really important thing to think about. Because maybe a no is telling you, it's giving you information. Emotions such as fear or pain or grief or sadness. Those are really, really, really important emotions to understand, to process, to sit with for a minute, because that tells you, again, is my favorite example of this is like anger. Anger is not a negative emotion. Anger is not a negative emotion. Anger is a response to external stimulus when it makes you feel like a boundary is being crossed. And so that's a really good opportunity to be like, oh shit, I'm getting angry. I feel like one of my boundaries is being crossed. And then you can actually address the problem. Whether it's, you know what, that's my bad. I didn't communicate this boundary clearly enough. Or if the problem is, no, you know what, I did actually communicate this boundary clearly enough. This person is choosing to continue to disrespect this boundary. And so now there have to be consequences for their disrespect of my boundary to let them know, hey, this really isn't okay. And this is what happens when you cross this boundary that you knew existed. Right? But none of that is inherently negative. I don't see how any of that is negative or worth avoiding, like anything like that. And one of the challenges in Kevin Hart's book that he says at the end that I thought I was going to fucking crush, and I have failed 3 times in 3 days. So like, I was humbled. I I ain't gonna lie, I was humbled. And what it is his challenge is for 30 days, you do not get to complain about anything. Nothing. No complaint is allowed to leave your lips, or, write a complaining tweet, or ruminate. Again, this is where it gets a little fuzzy, and my info dominant IJ-ness is like, well, what are the rules? But he talks about like ruminating also counts. Like if you're ruminating on something and like going too far in, like sitting in the, oh, I don't like that, right? And this, and you're like breaking it down, like, I don't like this about it, I don't like this about it, I don't like this about it. If you get into that, that also counts. And here's the thing. I think of myself as a very positive person. Like in fact, it's a point of pride for me that relative to my peers and my peer group of artists, activists, academics, whatever, I'm like, I am consistently, if not the most positive person in my circle, definitely in the top S tier of positivity. And even I, like every day, I found myself complaining about something, like openly complaining. And I was like, oh shit. Oh, whoa. Which is why I wanted to make this sort of TE talk out video, to really help me understand what counts as a complaint. What counts as, no, you know what? This counts as a complaint, and you got to restart the challenge. Because here's the thing, with my very, very strong NT, and especially my blasting, my visceral obligation is in many ways to look at the system, look at the abstract mechanics of the thing, and communicate my observations. I literally started doing stand-up comedy because I was like, I have this abundance of observation and communication muscles that just aren't getting the workout that they need. Maybe this is a good funnel for it, right? Same with this channel, same with the videos I make on my own page. I'm just like, I've just seen a lot of shit, especially with my double activated masculine SE at the bottom. And like, I got a lot of observations and a lot of communication energy. And one thing that I found very interesting was, it was very easy for me to complain without thinking I was complaining. That's what fucked me up, is how often I wanted to be like, oh, no. I'm not complaining about a thing. I'm just trying to understand the problem fully. And that's where I sort of got tripped up. And my impulse is to say that counts as complaining. And I'll tell you why. Because the solution is the same regardless of how deep I go. Try to say this again, because that was the big key for me. Because the solution to my problem doesn't change the deeper I go, then that going deeper and exploring it from every angle counts as complaining. I had to restart the challenge. So here's what I mean. Here is the actual tangible example. There is a YouTube channel that I have been following for many, many years that no longer sparks joy. No longer, I'm like, I don't really like the content anymore. It's not really doing it for me. And so I was like, oh, right, I don't like this. And my initial impulse was to go, okay, well, let me break it down. Let me understand what I don't like about it. Let me fucking pick it apart and turn it over and really like figure out the mechanics so that I can, understand it. And it's not that behavior is inherently bad or inherently unhelpful. But the solution, regardless of how deep I go, stays the same. Because the solution is unsubscribe. That's it. That's the whole answer to this question that I am facing. Is, this YouTube channel that isn't your fucking, like, it's not, you're not getting paid to fucking watch this YouTube channel. That's not how YouTube works. If you don't like watching an entertainment thing, I'm just going to not watch it. That's it. And then I should just move on and do literally anything else with my time. It requires no further thought than, I don't like this thing. Let me look at it. Is this right? Because then like, I don't like this thing. That's a good impulse to go, okay, hang on a second. Do I not like it because it is inspiring negativity, toxicity, boom, boom, boom? Or do I not like it because it's holding a mirror up to a part of myself that I'm not ready to deal with yet? Those are two very different reasons. And, if it's the latter, if it's holding a mirror up to something that you're like, I don't want to work on that, but yeah, no, that's where I'm at right now. Like, I just need to work on that. Okay, then maybe the right call is to lean into that a little more. But if you're watching something and you're like, this is inspiring negativity in me, I'm not growing from this. I'm not learning from this. I'm not enjoying it. Like, it's not recreational. It's not educate. Like, it's not providing the value that it once did. Great. I'm going to just peace out. Unsubscribe. Find something else to do with my time and my energy. Done. There's no reason to go deeper than that. I don't need to go, okay. Let me understand, like, boy, let me go back in the backlog and like remember the good time and you don't have to do that if the result is the same. Now, sometimes if it comes up organically, if you're like, I think that there is positivity here. I'm not really sure what I'm seeing. I think, okay, this is, or if it's something like, I don't know, like a marriage. Listen, I know a lot of people in 2018 who asked some very difficult questions about their life, where they're living, their relationship. I cannot count on just two hands the number of couples that either divorced or almost divorced in 2018. It was fucking everybody around me was like, oh no, this is not like in 2018 and into 2019, like it was crazy. And even now, like I'm still seeing trickles of like shit that was coming up in like 2017, 2018 that just didn't get addressed. And now it's really blowing up for them. And so like when you're leaving something that's, listen, if you're married and you have kids and you're thinking about a divorce, okay, that's a very different issue, right? because now we got other people involved. Now it's about a relationship. Now it's maybe we should go to counseling. Maybe we should try this. Maybe we should try that. Like, there's other shit to do rather than just, boop, I'm a peace out. Fuck you, bye. Like, that's not cool. You can't really do that. So that to me, is like a fine instance of like sitting in the negative emotion and really trying to own and process every piece of it, because the solution is maybe unclear, right? So that is a really good time to go, hang on, let me go a little deeper to see if I can really address the root of the problem. And again, this is not a like, well, because I'm lead NI, I shouldn't do this, or because Kevin Hart is lead SE, he should. It has nothing to do with that. It's about looking at whatever problem is in front of you and doing the right amount of work to solve that problem. Right? So one of my big, I guess, I don't know that I want to call it necessarily default wiring, because a lot of this was learned. I was talking to my mom about this, and when I'm talking about positivity and solution oriented, she was like, who's a lot like that is your father. And I thought about it and I was like, holy shit, I absolutely learned through observation from my dad to always be focused first on solutions, which is again, it's weird, especially coming from my academic, artistic, whatever-y background, right? Because I feel like in a lot of those spaces, and one of the big reasons that I've had to leave those spaces, for better or for worse, is because there's so much of an energetic focus on the problem and understanding the depth and detail of the problem. And understanding, okay, well, let's get even deeper. Like, what's the real root cause? Well, what's the realist root cause? And it's the difference, again, the reason why I'm moving into comedy and why comedy appeals to me so much is in very, very, in the most basic, like, like Greek drama term, like very tropey, whatever, binary coin terms. If you think of comedy versus drama, drama is the exploration of the depth and detail of a problem, and comedy is about the solutions, oftentimes the flawed solutions to that problem, right? Which is why I think it's a lot easier to go from comedy to drama, right? Like fucking Robin Williams and Jamie Foxx too. And honestly, a lot of comedians end up turning out really, really impressive dramatic work. But I think of Robin Williams in particular because, yes, I mean, the man was very, very troubled in a lot of ways, and I don't want to minimize that. But just on a comedic, whatever, craft perspective, he's able to go into explore the depth and detail of the problem because he has so much time. He has so many reps built up of finding solutions that he's like, I know I can deal with that. And so it's easier to go in that direction, but it's very hard, I have found and seen and observed, for like a dramatic actor to just turn on the comedy switch. That's a little tougher. Robert De Niro does it pretty well. He's kind of the only one that I've really seen like start out doing like drama and see like fucking Taxi Driver shit. But he's amazing in Analyze This and Meet the Fockers, and like he's great in those movies. So I love that he's getting in touch with his comedic side for sure. But I bring all of that up because I learned from my father through observation when there is a problem, like the first thing to do is just fucking try something. Now, granted, he has, save your play for sure, lead masculine SE. And probably, I think he's double masculine. I think he's SETE. I think he's like a double masculine lead consume ESFP. So he has that masculine SE, masculine TE, in his first two animals. So he's always like, all right, if this is the problem, what's the most obvious topical solution? Not how can we put a band-aid on the problem, right? But like, okay, well, if this is the problem, if the problem is, you're not, so I'm just going to use the actor example. So it's like, okay, if you're not, doing as well at these dance calls, right? Dance, right? Because I'll sing first, then do some acting. Then they're like, great, for the last part, we just need to see how you move. Like, do you fit in the world and how's your dancing? And that's always been a weakness of mine. I'll freely admit it. I am not a dancer in most contexts. So his solution would be, all right, we'll just take some dance classes. Okay, great. At that point, once we have identified the problem is I'm not doing as well at these dance auditions. The most obvious solution is to take dance classes. And the reason I like that so much in the internet age, and I want to be very specific, that this advice is meant for right now. If we lived 40, 50 years ago, I would be giving you very, 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 very different advice. 100%. But for right now, because of how the internet works and how digital communication and digital media works, because of the ways in which the algorithm taps into our natural negative bias, once you have identified the problem and there is an immediate solution at hand, try that solution. Just try it. See how it goes for a little bit. If you're like, man, I've been taking these dance classes for like a couple of months, I'm still going to these dance auditions, I'm, doing a little more of that, and it's still just not clicking. Okay, great. Now, what that means is that the problem was not, oh, okay, well, hang on a second. If I'm not doing well with these dance calls, maybe it wasn't that I'm not going into dance classes. So now, go deeper to figure out what the problem really is. Because maybe it's, you know what? I think I'm just not like physically in good enough shape. Like maybe like just the amount of fat and weight and whatever that I am carrying around and the development of like maybe that's just not there. Okay, great. If that's the problem, then the solution would be, all right, rather than doing dance classes 3 times a week, I'm going to go to the gym. Just like straight go to the gym, do some cardio, lift some weights, and just start doing that for a while. And then see how that goes. And so you're always doing this like, check in, try a solution. Go back, check your results, try something else if that's not working. Or if it is working, great, keep going. Tweak it a little bit, do it a little bit better, whatever it is. And I really, really like that because the more that I'm really trying to understand for myself and be able to catch myself when I am complaining, for me, it's really about, am I piling on? And again, I'm not saying that this is what will work for everybody, but for me, in my mind and my TI, this is what the logic is doing in here. And as I'm like trying to piece this together and be like, oh yeah, yep, I can see this piece going here and this piece going here. I know for me that as soon as I pile on, now we're in complaining territory. Because now I got to fucking solve two problems. Now I got to solve two problems when I haven't even solved the first one, which kicks off this domino effect of overwhelm. And okay, well, God, fuck, if there's two problems, when does it end? There must be 50 problems. And it's just so fucking easy to find problems. It's just so easy to find problems especially on the internet. I remember when I was in my my tutoring company, it's so funny. The thing that got me promoted and hired and doing all that shit ended up being the same thing that ended up causing me to leave the company. Because I started out, I was doing office work and I was working on curriculum, and finally I was like, listen, I need to make more money and I need more stability. I would love for that stability and money to come from this company because I think there's a lot of value that I add and that I want to add. I love being around you guys. You guys seem to like me. Can we work something out? And basically I was like, listen, I need this money. So if you can't give me this money, no harm, no foul, but I gotta go. I gotta find something else to do. And they're like, all right, hang on, we'll work with you, whatever. So it was, it was like $250 a week. And I was supposed to be there for 15 to 20 hours, just sort of come in during the day, basically every day, do 4 or 5 hours of work. And then, go on to my tutoring or do whatever the fuck. Right. It was great. It was like the dream. It was a dream job in so many ways. It was great. And what ended up happening is just me being there. I was like, wait, what the fuck? That can be fixed and that can be fixed and that, oh my God. And so slowly, as I started to, fix this and this and this and this and this, what ended up happening is that by the end of it, it was not even the same company anymore. And I was like, oh, I got nothing else to fix. There's nothing. And also part of that was I was sort of starting to understand, like, I can't live in this constant Mr. Fix-It kind of way because I'll just fucking find things that I don't like. And especially once the problems really became more technological and less operational and infrastructure, I was like, I'm not I'm an ops guy. Haha, ops. But I am strategy and operations. If you need strategy and operations, dude, I will fucking crush any strategy / operations position. But I'm not. But I got so tired of having to find shit to fix in order to keep my job. Because it was not feasible, acceptable, whatever, for me to just like show up to work and do my job. It was, well, what are you fixing? What are you working on? Which required me to find something negative to fix. It was very, very hard. But I bring up all of that because, I like being very solution oriented. Now, obviously, my take on being solution oriented is going to have an ST flavor. I got a lot of ST. I just do. I actually really like the fact that I have as much ST as I do. And it makes my life incredibly easy because that gap between, for whatever reason, identifying a problem and then trying some fucking solution. I don't know. Listen, I don't know if my solution will work. I don't give a fuck if it works or not. I really don't. Because, so I'll give you, here's a concrete example. So I'm working on the fitness, trying to get back into shape, get back to where I was before the pandemic started. It was like, I'm really excited. I got a lot of energy, and I'm like slowly trying to focus my energy and, you know, intention and whatever into that really for these next couple of months. As I you know, spoke about it in the group, my goal is by early April to get back to where I was before the pandemic. My goal by the end of April is to be past that, because I have more energy now. I have more mental clarity. I just know how to work better and how to limit I know how to limit distractions, and I know what counts as a distraction and what's me, you know, acting out of fear. Like I just have a better sense of that now. And so when I was starting to work out, you know, sort of the last week of February, it was like, all right, we're going to start to ramp up back into this and whatever. And like I'd been going to the gym a little bit in the last couple of weeks of February. And I was like, let me just start going to the gym. I don't know what I'm supposed to be working on, but I know how to pick things up and put them down. Let me just start doing fucking something. So I was going to the gym a couple of weeks, and my weight wasn't moving. I was like, okay. Like usually when I shock my system, like I actually tend to see not major results, but I tend to see the scale move a little bit kind of right away. Like within the first couple of days, the scale usually moves. And after like a week or a week and a half, I was like, I'm not seeing any movement. Okay, great. Let me go back. Let me see. Okay, well, we got this piece. I know that this is fine. And, oh, you know what? The food. The food's not great. I'm not doing great with the eating and the macroing, and I'm eating a lot of sugar, which I don't need to be doing. Okay, great. Let me focus on that for a little bit. Keep the other component, focus on the food. Worked on the food a little bit. I mean, I felt better. I looked a little better, whatever, but like, I don't know, like I wasn't seeing the movement. And I was like, great. I know that the going to the gym period is working. I know that I'm making strides on the food. And I was like, okay, well, maybe let me look at what I'm doing at the gym. And that's when it hit me. I was like, motherfucker, you just have not been doing enough cardio. And so now it's funny, on Sunday, I was like, all right, I guess today's a burpee day. And I did 50 burpees. That was my workout for the day. Cause I'm just not in shape enough to do the 100. I was like, that's not going to fucking happen. And I did 50. I almost passed out. I got dizzy. It was fine. But that was also partially me being like, oh, right. I actually need to properly fuel before I do a HIIT cardio thing. Like I just didn't fuel right. Now, let me be clear. Doing 50 burpees is no joke no matter what. But again, in this whole process, I'm trying something, checking it. Trying something, checking it. Trying something, checking it. And that is how I'm slowly getting down to each problem. Is just by trying shit and fixing it. That's it. And I think that's particularly important for someone like me who is lead NI. But I think that everybody has their own version of doing this, where it's the like, again, the failings of the English language, Maron. But like, whatever your version of, hang on, let me go a little deeper instead of working on it. And I think that certainly coming from my very academic background and very artistic background, there is a lot of emphasis on talking and discussing and understanding. And, you know, there isn't as much of a culture of just fucking do shit. I don't know, throw something up on stage, see how it goes, and then, watch the tape back, see whatever, make adjustments as needed. Again, one of the things I love about the process of doing stand-up comedy is that it's funny. There's a great interview with Pete Holmes where he talks about this as well, where like you can't, like if you're just a writer, it's really, really easy to crawl up your own asshole and to just be like, no, I need to go deep. I need to do more world building. I need to really understand like what the core of this is. Let me flesh this out. Let me really think about it. And regardless of what your type is or may be or whatever, just the process of writing, especially like writing novels and longer works, really does lend itself to that kind of depth and intense, rumination. But what I'm loving about stand-up is that if I write a 3-minute joke, right? The next step of the process, it's like, all right, I wrote this joke. All right, let me tweak this. Let me clean this up. Let me get it to where I, think it's going to be funny and fucking kill. But the next step is like, you got to take it to an open mic. Like you don't have the option really of just being like, this is great, I'm gonna write another, and like then now you've like written all this stuff, and then when you try it out and you bomb, you're like, fuck, that was very painful. Nobody laughed at me. And now you like really got to go back and now you're like, okay, well, did that joke not work? Was it the sequence and the segueing and maybe the premise of this entire 15-minute chunk isn't funny? Maybe I ordered it wrong. Like, and now you don't know what the problem is, which is funny because the whole thing of the scientific method is you got to isolate the variables and you test one variable and then you check the results and you're like, oh, okay, this one is moving in the right direction. It's like, going to the optometrist, guy's like, all right, put the thing on, 1 click or 2, first, second, first click, second, first click, second, first, clicks back, first click, second, like, and you're just doing that constantly. And I didn't expect to go down this optometrist road, but I actually think that might be really helpful. Because check this out. Think about going to the eye doctor. You go to the eye doctor. The fact that you guessed wrong when it was like, I think that your prescription is this. How is this? If that's not right, that's literally part of the process of figuring out how your eyes are doing. Like that is the process, right? You dilate the eyes, you go in, they do the, I don't know, whatever, depending on how technologically advanced the place is. LensCrafters, incidentally, is amazing. I don't know when LensCrafters got fucking baller as hell, but they are. So it's like, all right, well, you just go in and you just try different lenses. You're like, let me tweak this. That's not bad. I don't know. Let me go back. Maybe let's try this. Oh, I like that. Okay, great. Let's add this and then this lens on top of that. Whatever. Right? And then by the end of it, you're like, all right, this is my prescription right now. You got your prescription. But guess what? You're going to have to come back in a year. Get your eyes checked again. See where things are at. Maybe your prescription changed a little bit. All right. Change the prescription. That's literally the process of fixing your eyes. It's not, all right, well, let me look and let me think and let me really like understand. Let me look at the trend. No, fucking try a lens. If it doesn't work, try a different lens. If that doesn't work, try another lens. And I'm, again, when I really can feel myself complaining, it's when I'm piling on without recognizing which, that I have drawn my attention to a problem and haven't solved it yet. And this is, and I'll sort of end on this. Here's what's really crazy to me. Like really, really crazy to me. One of my biggest, I can feel myself like my biggest hesitations of doing this is not that I am afraid of doing the work. Because I love doing work. Oh my God. Doing work is like my favorite thing in the world. But what I realized was like kind of holding me back was I realized that once I was like, okay, this is a thing I'm focusing on. What do I do the rest of the day? Now my entire day that had been formerly been used for, all right, let me think about this. Let me really understand the problem. Let me have a discussion about the problem. Let me make sure I'm attacking the right problem. Okay, is this really the right problem? Let's look at this. What's the right way to attack this problem? And then as we're looking at the attack, does another deeper problem, like, ooh, maybe let's attack this problem. Instead, I haven't actually done any problem solving. I haven't. I haven't solved anything, which is problematic because part of solving these smaller problems and these topical problems is you got to build the problem solving muscle. Because, and I don't mean to super pick on the leftist activist liberals, because ideologically the work that they're doing is so fucking important. But I had to leave that community because there's so much emphasis on not solving the problem, drawing attention to the problem. And then it feels oftentimes like right when you're about to maybe try to solve it, it's like, hang on a second. Is there a better problem we could be solving? Is there a deeper problem we could be solving? And I'm like, oh my fucking God. Here's the thing. Maybe. Probably. When we're dealing with systemic discrimination, yeah, there's deeper layers and it's fucking baked into the whole fabric of whatever. But what's going to happen is if you just keep going deeper to the root cause, that's a big fucking deal. But you've spent all of this time just going deeper and like surveying the terrain, that once it comes time to actually dig, you're like, I don't fucking know how to dig. Well, what were you doing for the last 3 months? Well, I was seeing where to dig. Okay, but you didn't actually practice digging. Well, no, and that's where you get fucked up. And that's where and a lot of frustration can come if you're like, I see that the deepest problem is down here, but I haven't been spending my time learning how to dig, so I'm still only up here. As opposed to, okay, so here's a very silly concrete example. My mother and I are very close. We text all the time, right? And usually, like, we talk, I would say that we talk on the phone 4 to 5 times a week. 4 to 5 times a week, not for very long, 15, 20 minutes. But I'm driving or she's driving, or, we'll give each other a quick call because we don't live in the same city. But one of the things that used to cause a little friction, especially when I was living in New York and especially when I was younger, is if we didn't touch base once a day, she would get very nervous and very anxious, and then it would cause a lot of agita, and then she'd get mad at me, and I didn't know what the problem was because I wasn't in the room with her, so I couldn't like read her body language, and all I'm seeing are like emotionally loaded, angry texts, and I'm like, this is gonna fucking blow up, and I don't know what's going on. So I was like, okay, let's assume the problem is easy to solve. Let's assume, for sake of argument, let's say the issue is she wants to know that I'm alive every day. Great. So I'm gonna just make sure that I text her, not leave her on red, not give a little heart, but like actually text her something, being like, if she's like, are you having a good day? Having a great day. She's like, great. And that's it. I was like, let me try that. Let me just try making sure that I text her a complete sentence at least once a day. Incidentally, that solved the problem. Fantastic. We can move on. We don't need to spend another minute wondering, be like, ooh, that was really interesting. I wonder if, maybe I should have. No. That solved the problem demonstrably, objectively. We can move on. If it didn't solve the problem, now we got to look a little deeper. Try to solve a different problem. That's a really good time to have a conversation about it. If it's like, man, I thought the problem was this. I tried to solve this problem, but you're still not feeling it. Okay, great. Let's take a minute to get on the same page. Now is a time to have the discussion, to have the back and forth. But until you've tried something, there's nothing to discuss. Hit the topical problem, and that 99% of the time will reveal the deeper layer that you need to do next. So for me in the fitness, if I hadn't gone to the gym, I would not have realized that my eating was as off as it was, because I need the food to fuel the workout that I was trying to do. And I was like, oh shit, the food that I'm eating is not fueling me properly. Great. Let me do the food. And then once I started fueling myself properly, I realized that the workouts I was doing were not as beneficial as they could be. But I needed to go through both of those steps to get to that third step, to do burpee day. And then I did the cardio yesterday. And I woke up this morning and, look, the scale moved. Fucking miracle of miracles. What do you. And so now I can go, okay, now let's keep it moving. Let's really, okay, great. Reframe, regroup. Let's focus on cardio. I want to make sure that I do at least 2, maybe 3 like dedicated cardio days per week. Dope. Let me do that for a little bit. And once I stop seeing the movement I want to see, reassess and say, okay, what's next? Oh, okay, I got the cardio component in place. Now let me work on building strength. Let me work on really building muscle. Let me tweak the food. Whatever the next step is will reveal itself by just doing the work. So, all of this is to say, I think that complaining for many of us, certainly for me, is just a habit. I don't actually think that we like complaining. Some people do. For sure, some people like complaining. But I think a lot of people don't actually like complaining. They just don't know what to do, or they feel stuck, or they feel like if they don't work on the most important problem, then the work they're doing is useless. There are a million things. And so as a result, when you're like, well, if I feel like I can't do the work, let me either just straight complain about it or do my bargaining version of complaining, which is, let me pile on so many problems that I can't even begin. Where do you even start when you have 17 problems? Well, yeah, you made it really fucking hard to start because you threw 17 problems on your plate, as opposed to, okay, I see this problem is immediately within my grasp. Great. Let me take this problem. All right, let me see, what am I doing about this problem? Great, let me work on that problem. Done. And now I'm going to set that problem aside. Now that is off my plate. I'm working on it. I'm doing it. Again, whether it's an immediate thing, an overtime thing, a lot of different ways to deal with it. But you don't have to think about that anymore. You don't have to ponder it. You don't have to complain about it. You don't have to ruminate it. You do not have to do that if you are already working towards a solution. So I want to leave you with this. Being solution-oriented is very important, but it's also a muscle. And I think the easiest way to build that muscle is to just start solving easy, small, bullshit problems. And that problem could be, you know what? I just want to drink more water. I just want to drink more water. I feel like I get thirsty, and not in the fun way, a little more often. Great. I'm just going to start drinking more water. And that's it. And you live your entire life the same way. It's not going to be exactly the same because you're going to pee a lot. You're going to start peeing a lot. Just a fair warning, if you start drinking more water, it really does kind of change your schedule. It's very strange. But what will happen is once you start drinking water, you're going to see a different thing. You're like, oh shit, now that I'm drinking water, I'm actually noticing this other, God, my apartment is kind of dirty. All right. Well, let me tidy up my desk area. I'm not going to do the whole fucking apartment. Let me just keep my desk tidy. Right? And again, all of this is stuff that everyone else has, everybody who has had a lot of success comes to this conclusion eventually. This is just my take on it, my spin, the way that has the language that has worked for me, that is working for me objectively in reality. I'm not breaking any new ground here, but the shit works. The shit just works. But I think that we have a unique challenge in 2021, which is the amount of negativity that you have to wade through is just so much higher than it's ever been. Even just to watch this video, you have to go on some sort of social networking or social media site. You have to, by definition, because this isn't going directly to your inbox, right? I'm not sending you, a QuickTime file with this video. You have to go to YouTube. You have to subscribe to the channel, which you should. Subscribe to the channel. Or you have to go to the Facebook group. You have to do something, and you just have to wade through this negativity to get to what you want. And that makes it hard. And I totally get that. But I think that you can build that muscle of just not recognizing it, not choosing to indulge in it, not, and again, really focusing on what is the most obvious solution to the most immediate problem in front of me. Immediate, practical, solvable problem. If it's, because here's the thing, let's say it's, man, I need to get my eating right. Okay, that's actually a kind of a complicated problem. Because now we got to talk about, okay, do you know how to cook shit? Do you know how to cook? Listen, I didn't go grocery shopping with a car until I was 34. Hand to God. Because when I was growing up, obviously, I did grocery shopping with my mother, but me by myself as an adult, I was in college, so I was on meal plans. The last year when I lived in an apartment, I was close enough to the grocery store that I just went to the fucking grocery store. I just walked around the corner. And then I lived in New York for 10 years, and I didn't have a car. So I didn't learn how to go grocery shopping for more than 2 days. Because that's all I could fucking carry. And it was cold in New York. It was 20-degree weather, I don't really feel like carrying 35 pounds of groceries in each hand for a month. That's fucking no. And then there's like, okay, do you know how to cook? Do you understand nutrition? And on a basic level, like there is a lot of shit you need to know to get your eating on point. So maybe don't start there. Start with what you know how to drink water. If you are listening to this and you are a human, if you are a carbon-based life form, you know how to drink water. So start with drinking water. That is an immediate thing. And just making your initial problems that fucking stupid and easy and like, oh, yeah, no, I can easily knock this out. Like I can easily drink water. Like that is not mechanically difficult for me. The others, like that will build the problem-solving, solution-oriented muscle that you need to actually solve the shit that really, really matters. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you for hanging out with me. As always, I love you. I see you. Now let's do the damn thing.